Welcome back from your conversation about technology. You may be feeling a little bit vulnerable right now, or it's easy to feel like a lot of primary emotions of like anger towards the phone or fear. Or, I remember when someone said to me, your kids are only as safe as their friends' phones. And I like freaked out. There's also that vulnerability of like, oh man, it is hard to manage this relationship with my phone and to be a good leader to my family, to my kids. I mean, there was a kid, I remember they were in high school and they said, I was like, what are you gonna do this weekend? They're like, I'm gonna go home and watch my parents do this. And just stare at their phone. And so I just wanna say that technology is incredible. It's not the enemy, but it's sensitive because it's new. And this new thing we need wisdom for.
Yeah, that's good. Gosh, it's not the enemy. That can be hard after coming out of a conversation like that. So for the next little bit, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this term that I am only familiar with because of you, and that's the theology of technology. So I want to start from this place, David. I've heard this phrase often, and that is technology is neutral. Right? So it's not good or bad. It just depends on how you use it. What do you think about that? Let's talk about that.
So this is a very interesting twist to it because we were traveling at Axis and we were talking about how, hey, technology is neutral, just like a brick's neutral. And it just matters what you do with it. And in this little section right here, we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to dive past the topsoil. So if we just assume things are neutral, it has this belief that maybe the world's random. Maybe just came here by accident. And here we are just on a speck that's floating through the infinite abyss, and how we got here, who knows? But as Christians, we believe that the world's different and it's ordered differently. And it's ordered by a God who is good, who is in relationship and created the world out of his goodness. And so any piece of technology, actually any cultural artifact, the idea is how is this very good and how is this cursed? And then, of course, with Jesus makes the world right side up, and then is inviting us to redeem it. So if you feel, or if your kids are like, Mom, you're always complaining, or Dad, you're always whining, or Dad, you're always in that negative posture, the first thing to do is to say, okay, let me step back. Let me realize that there's a good God. He created a good world. And what can I celebrate about this?
That's good.
What can I celebrate about TikTok? What can I celebrate about Instagram? What can I celebrate about this new video game system? What's amazing about it? And that puts you not on your heels, but on your toes, appreciating and entering into a place of awe. Then you get to say, how is it corrupted? How is this bringing out the worst in humanity or the darkness in my heart? And then you get to say, as a family, how do we redeem it? So instead of saying it's neutral, it's understanding it's powerful, it's complicated, it's very good, it's cursed, and then how can we redeem it as a family?
That's so good. I think about uses like, FaceTiming grandma.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what a beautiful use of technology. Obviously, YouVersion the Bible app, the amount of translations and the ability for people to connect with their language in Scripture is unreal, right? So you're right. It's not good nor bad. It's just the idea of how do we redeem it? And then how do we, based on the discussion you guys had earlier, how do we insert our family values?
And pray and ask God for wisdom.
So I know that our audience is going to have a broad range of children. So some of you guys, I hope that there are parents sitting in this room don't even have children yet. And then there are others of you guys who have a senior in high school and you're thinking, it's too late. Like, I am late to the party, right? So we want to address all of those things and make sure that this conversation is really open for everyone.
Okay, I want to get back to the question of when should I get my kid a phone? And it's a trick question because it assumes two things that are not true. The first thing that it assumes that your kid doesn't already have access to a phone. The second thing, and this is really important, is that when they do get a phone, you don't have to give them 100% of it, okay? It's not like, and you may have done this, and that's okay. We'll talk about that as well. But it doesn't have to be like, happy birthday or Merry Christmas, or you turned this many years old. Here is a $1,000 phone in a very nice box, wrapped in cellophane. It's all yours. Open it up, and welcome to Pandora's box. You can see the very, very best of humanity and the very, very worst 30 minutes from now. And so what I recommend with this, and this is really important for our conversation, is there is a place for a first phone. And there are a lot of phones on the market that are designed to be a first phone. And then when you go full iPhone or full Android, there is a way to say, all right, I want you to have complete autonomy and freedom with this someday. And I'm going to walk with you to get there. And I believe in you. But, this is a complicated device. So we're going to start off by holding some of those things back as we enter into it with wisdom. It's the same thing as, for those of you who are in your 40s or 50s or older, I know where you were on your 16th birthday. You were exactly where I was on my 16th birthday. I was at the DMV, that incredible government agency.
For hours.
Waiting in line to take a test and get my driver's license, because driver's license equaled what for you?
Freedom.
So I was excited. 16th birthday, it was like on. And like it was a government like threshold that I crossed over. And you'll notice now, you're like, hey, wait a second, why aren't 16-year-olds at the DMV? And it's because in many ways, the smartphone is so incredible that it provides many things that the car provides. Access to friends, access to relationships, access to different communities. And so I'd say, just like the same way where you wouldn't hand your kid keys on their 16th birthday and say, here's the truck, hey, you're a certain age now. Just go drive this. Here's a truck, go drive it. Good luck. Hope you stay alive. Hope your friends stay alive. No, there's like a training methodology that leads up to it. And it's a similar thing, except no one talks about it except for us right here at Life.Church and at Axis, working together to say, what does it look like when you get your kid a phone, and what are some ways to get into that space? And would you like to know?
Okay, now let's talk about then navigating. So you bring up the driver's license analogy. So walk us through that a little bit. What does that look like? So what's the training program?
And so you'll be provided this it's like a smartphone guide. We call it the Everything Smartphone Guide at axis.org. There are 8 different areas. And that's as simple as I could get it. And as simple as we could get it. I wish I could say it was 3 different areas, but there are 8 different areas to consider. And the number one thing that I recommend is you write something down. Now, you don't write it down in blood. You don't write it down. It's like this is a work in progress document, because like you are from a different generation than your kids. I am from a different generation than my kids, by definition. And if you're a grandparent, you're a couple generations away from your grandkids. And there's just different assumptions that we bring to technology. There's different understandings of reality that we have.
Yeah.
And also, if your kid already has a phone, just take a deep breath, exhale. If you have a 17-year-old and you're like, I gave up already, I get it, okay? But at the same time, remember, you get to have a 50-year conversation with your kid that lasts a lifetime, and there is no one more influential, persuasive, irreplaceable. You're irreplaceable, unstoppable in the life of your kid. And that's what Deuteronomy 6 says when it says, talk to your kids about loving God with all that you are as you rise, sit down, lay down. But also, it's what the sociological research says. Notre Dame, University of Southern California, big studies look at the number one impact in the life of a kid and their faith formation, it's parents. And the second thing these studies show is that parents are surprised that they have the most influence. Okay, let's talk about these 8 different areas. And again, the idea is to write something down for each of them so that you're trying to get on the same page. And you're honestly trying to recruit your child's heart. Okay, so let's talk about all 8 of these. The first 4 of these are very analog. They're not like a technological solution. So the first thing's non-negotiables, then it's money, time, and location. Non-negotiables is back to this idea of family values. Is there anything that's always wrong to your family? And so maybe it's always wrong to text while you drive when you're 16 years old. Maybe it's always wrong to look at pornography. Maybe it's always wrong to go to certain websites or to treat people in a dehumanizing way. Maybe it's wrong to have sneaky apps. So these are some things that are like, you would say, these are basics, or as you said earlier, we're better in community than we are in isolation. And so like this idea of privacy, yeah, we want that, but not at the cost of our souls. Okay, so non-negotiables. The second one is money. Who pays for it? Who pays for the cases? Who pays for it when it breaks? If you pay for it, does that mean you can do whatever you want with it? And so this is the idea, just because it's their phone, it's kind of like their room. It's still your household. So those 4 of money, who pays for it, non-negotiables. The second one is location. Can you bring it to church with you? Can you have it in the bathroom with you? Can you have it in your bedroom at night? Your brain needs a lot of rest. You're 14 years old. And can you have it at the dinner table to just kind of say, what do you agree on? And pretty soon they're going to be looking at you and saying, but Dad, what are you doing on email? And then time is, how much time can you be on these things? So those are all 4 our choices. The next 4 things are technological in nature. They're internet and browsers, so the internet, texting and app store, and social media, and maybe eventually AI. AI is still kind of functioning in those different areas. And these are all technical solutions. And I would recommend when you give your kid at whatever age you deem is the right age, as you enter in that space, that you give them a phone that does not have the ability to get on the internet, does not have the ability to get on the App Store and download an internet browser, and does not have social media initially. And again, these are all things that you want to eventually say, all right, we're going to have our first social media app, and I want to work with you on that. And again, if you're in the position where your kid has already had a phone for a long time, that's okay. Come to them in a position of like, I'm learning more about this. And what's interesting about the current generation is they know that phones are not good for them. Everybody knows that phones not good for them in certain ways. We know it makes us anxious. We know we don't like how it makes us feel. You can ask them what do they love about their phone and what they hate about their phone. They're going to give you a list of things. And it comes back to that initial theology of technology of saying, what is this for? And how is it good? How is it terrible? And how can we redeem it as a family? So you're looking at all 8 of those different categories, and your family is going to have values that's different in all of those. My recommendation is that if you have a chance to start off, you start off with them very limited, and then you say, I want to get to a place where you can self-govern, where you're self-aware, where you put yourself under authority and understand who you are. And that's what I look for in a mature adult. And I want to get you there, just like you don't want to be sitting in the passenger seat of your kids in a car while your kid is driving when they're 24 years old. You want to have them at a place where they are free to make good decisions. And what is freedom? Is freedom gives room for good things to run wild.
That's good. That's really good. I love the idea of getting that on paper. You know, we started this out today talking about our own habits, the way that we use technology and our family values. And I want to address a few things that I think that when we do that real exploration and do that inventory, we're going to, in our own use, we're going to make some decisions that look a little bit differently. We recognize that we're probably spending too much time looking at our phones, and we recognize we're making lots of excuses. Yeah, but it's email, and I've got to check the such and such, and I have a responsibility at work to check social media. We're going to have lots of reasons why, right? But I really believe in us, and I believe we're going to dial back our time on our own screens and then begin to have conversations with our families about that. So then the question is, well, what do I exchange that with? I need my wind down time. Listen, I'm just going to be real. Wind down time for me historically has been scrolling through Instagram, and then guess who does some shopping, right? So as I'm thinking about that for myself personally, I've got to exchange that. What do I really need to wind down? Well, what I probably need to wind down is to get outside, to go walk around. So if that's true of me, it's certainly true for my granddaughter. It's true for your kids. So this is not really just an issue of the overuse of technology. It's really the under-engagement in play. Like, we just don't play as much. We don't sit down and play board games as much. We're not outside in the sun and getting some vitamin D. Like, we've got to think about, what are we exchanging that time with? Why did my teenagers find themselves picking up their phone?
So the last idea I have is a story, and it was a fight. It was a fight between a young lady and her mom, and her mom had taken the phone away and said, if you ask for it back, I'm not going to give it back to you for an even longer amount of time. So it turned into this huge power play. And so she had just tears running down her cheeks, hot, mad, angry tears. Like she said, David, you don't know my mom. I was like, I don't know. And I was a youth pastor, and I was trying to help out. And then she said this line. She said, David, the stricter the parent, the sneakier the teenager. And I've never forgotten that line. I was like, that seems really true, but it seems really false. But what's going on? I love high schoolers. They're so smart. They're so clever. And so I started thinking about it. And I started asking my friends. I was like, this seems like a riddle. Like, what's the answer behind the answer? And so Grandpa Bob, he answered the riddle. And he answered it by answering my question with a question, which is what Jesus would have done. Mm-hmm. So he went totally Jesus on me. And he said, David, are you raising a sin concealer or are you raising a sin confessor?
Oh, wow. And
so we just went deep there, but this was a power play where it was a mom against a daughter. And by the way, it was from a divorced home. So what the moral of the story is this daughter ended up with 2 iPhones, one for her mom's house and one for her dad's house. Okay. She had effectively triangulated her parents. There was so much pain there. And instead, we've talked about different things you can do. Pray for wisdom, but ask, are you turning your heart towards your kid? Mm-hmm. They need your wisdom, but we need their wonder. So to say, we are on the same team. Tell them often, you can tell me anything. You can tell me anything. You can tell me anything. Because they're going to go to Google or to ChatGPT or to Grok or to their friends. You want them to come to you. And you want them to tell you what's going on in their heart and what they saw online that's breaking their heart or what they're really excited about or what's really scaring them. And whenever they do, they eventually will take you up and they will tell you something. You have to practice your I'm not shocked face so that you can hold that and be able to and say, okay, because if you freak out, then they're going to be like, well, I tried with my dad and it didn't work out. So again, with all of these different things that we just talked about, the theology of technology, we talked about the 8 different domains and writing things down, some practical steps. We're always going to be in that sparring with technology of where it's like, this is not making me more human.
Right.
This is dehumanizing to our family. It's supposed to connect us, and I feel so gross. I feel so anxious. I feel so depressed. I feel so comparison. And then to invite our whole family into it, because your kid doesn't have a junior Holy Spirit. If your kid is saved, they're following Jesus, they don't have the junior Holy Spirit. God has called your family together as a unit to work together and to enjoy and celebrate and redeem technology.
We've had a chance to hear helpful, practical mindsets around technology. Now, we're going to hear some questions from parents, things about smartphones, screen time, gaming. Let's check it out here.